Hello, hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the 5 p.m. demo at the December in Lapland online crop. And how is everybody doing this afternoon? It's been a bit of a whirlwind day for me. Been kind of go, 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 go. So I apologize. We are starting a few minutes late and my camera's a little bit off kilter, and we were trying to figure out what was causing the weirdness on the video, and I was hoping that we had, I'm gonna have to stand up and adjust that because it's all wonkadoodle, but it doesn't look like we have. It's still just a little bit odd. So we'll try again something else later on this evening. Yes, so if you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later on replay, you can just drop a comment and let us know how your day is going. I see my mom is here. Good evening, Mom. So we are going to be doing a little bit of a demo today, showing that we can use something that's normally associated with springtime, summertime, and use it for the winter. So there's something beautiful about the winter. So let's take a look at what we're going to be using. We're going to be using the Country Birdhouse stamp set. We're also going to be using the Country Birdhouse dies. And we're going to be using something that came out in the February catalog, which is the Birch Wood 3D embossing folder. And we're also going to be using the Peaceful Season stamp set. Now, some of these items are in the last chance section on the website, so you'll want to check that out. I know the embossing folder is saying low inventory, so if you haven't got it yet and you are liking it, then now is the time because it's gone pretty soon. So just to be aware of that. All right, so let's get started by doing a little bit of stamping. We're going to do some stamping to start. I've got a piece of scrap basic white, and from my Country Birdhouse stamp set, I'm going to stamp a few items. Let me just grab a stamp block. First off, we want to stamp this cute little bird. And I always like using things in unexpected ways. And this particular idea is not original to me because somebody else already used their images in unexpected ways. I don't need to close that up yet because we're going to do more stamping. Let me grab another block. I want to stamp a couple of these flowers as well. So we're going to do this little cluster here and this single flower here. Set that aside. I'm just going to pick those up right as they are. Just like that. Ink them up. And I'm using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink for this because I'm going to be doing some coloring with it. But I just wanted to get those stamped up first. And then we're going to start by folding our card base. Kind of a weird way that we're doing things today. I'm going to use a standard card base. This is not going to be a fun fold. Oh, my chat got disconnected. Please wait while we try. But other people are commenting, so it must have just been my connection. It says successfully connected. Hello, Allison. Nice to see you're watching, and Deborah's here too. So this is a standard card, so it is a 8.5 by 5.5, and it's been scored in the center at 4 1/4. We're going to fold it with the bump side of the score line to the inside, make sure everything lines up, and we're going to crease that down. And that's a base for our card. It's going to be a portrait card, and so it's going to go straight up and down. Okay, and I just realized that, let me see, literally the bottom 3 inches are not visible to you, so we'll try to keep everything up towards the top. Maybe I'll even scooch a little bit up higher. because we don't need all that space at the top. Okay, and then I want to bring in a piece of Pecan Pie. This is one of my favorite browns. Oh, there's something on there. Well, we'll use this side. This is a piece of Pecan Pie, and it has been cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. I should know that because it's kind of a standard matting size. It leaves a nice 1/8 of an inch all the way around, so you've got a little bit of a border. And I know the distortion is still happening on the screen for you. Everything is taller than it should be. If you look at my mat, you can see that instead of squares, I have like rectangles. Yeah, we're working on it. I don't know what happened with YouTube, but it started last night. And of course, everything always happens right when you're about to have a crop. It's inevitable. So we're going to bring in the 3D Birch Wood embossing folder. And I'm just going to open it first. And then decide where on here I want my piece of paper. And I want my design kind of going sideways. So I'm just going to stick it in here. Try and put it in straight-ish so that, you know, the pattern that I want is kind of going from side to side. And then let's grab our thing that's got little bits of stuff stuck to it. Washi tape stuck to the handle. And for my sandwich, I always have to take one plate away. So it depends on your machine and how you stack it, what happens with the 3D embossing folders. But I always find that I just have to take one of the clear plates off. And it'll make a big popping noise and go all crazy when it comes out the other side because it's very tight. I'm going to have to find a better sandwich. Ham and cheese. Actually, I like egg salad. That would be good too. And we'll just move that out of the way. We're going to need it again, but we'll move it out of the way for now. And then we can open up our embossing folder and take out our lovely, everything staticky, embossed 3D Birch Wood Pecan Pie cardstock. Isn't that gorgeous? Hey, Allison, I see you said hello twice. Hooray! And I'm going to just quickly add some adhesive on the back. And I'm going to add a little more than I normally would just because it's embossed. And so some of the piece, some of the adhesive is not hitting the way it always would because it's, there's dips and valleys and bumps and hills and all the things. So let's take the backing off this. I've got little pieces of stuff. It's probably off my cut and emboss machine. My Big Shot, my Sizzix Stampin' Up! Big Shot. There we go. All right, that's an old machine from back in the day, from when I first started doing this kind of stuff, like 20-something years ago. So that is the start of our card. But then we're going to bring in the dies that create the birdhouse. Let me just grab those. And there are a lot of dies in this country birdhouse collection. So first we need the shape of our house. And then we can cut all these other pieces. But I have actually cut them ahead of time. I'm pretty sure I cut them all. I've also got my string cut. So we'll be using these again, but not for a few minutes. First off, though, I want to cut the shape of my house. So I'm just going to scooch that off to the side, grab my die cut machine again. We're going to run this through like so. There we go. And I'm just checking something because I think I have another step I need to do here before we put our machine away. So I have gone ahead and just like the country birdhouse, I've also got the Country Woods collection here. So there's our little black cardstock cut out of our birdhouse. And I have already gone ahead and cut the wooden birdhouse that I'm going to use. But I want to cut out the hole for the little birds to go in and out. So I have the little die here. And I'm going to cut that out. I'm just going to use a piece of washi tape that I got hanging around on the top of my machine. I'm going to stick it down and run it through. While we're at it, this is a demo, so you get to see some of the inner workings. And of course, some of my washi tape is jumping right off. That means it won't stick to my paper. At least that's the hope. So we can just pop that little circle out. There we go. And is there anything else I need to die cut right away? I don't think so. I think that's all for right now. But we will come back to that machine. All right. So we've got our card base. We're going to leave that sitting there. And we now have 2 layers. Get all the dusty bits off. My goodness, what is with the dust? It's all the little fibers from paper, right? So I have cut out of the Country Woods collection. Look at that side, is pretty too. But I'm using this dark wood. Now, I started to say that this was not an original idea of mine, this particular design. I've tweaked it a little bit, but it was posted on Pinterest by Annette Elias, who is also a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm thinking she's somewhere in the UK. So Annette Elias, thank you for sharing your gorgeous artwork. I think that's one of the best things about the crafting community is that we share our artwork, and we like to case projects. Stands for copy and share everything. So thank you, Annette, for sharing this, because I was so inspired by it. I think I even sent the idea to a few people. I was like, oh my goodness, have you seen this? It looks so cool. All right, so now on our little house, there's lots of die cut pieces. This is the piece that gets cut out to create the foot of our birdhouse. And when I'm sticking pieces, you might have noticed I picked this up and I held it kind of from side to side. I find the easiest way to line up die cut pieces is to kind of pinch them from side to side, and that kind of just gets them all in the right place, matched up with what's below, and it seems to work out well. Does anybody else do that, where you pick them up and you scrunch them together with your fingers? I just find that that works for me. All right, we want to have a little snow on our roof because we're talking about beauty in winter. And so we're going to add some glue to the roof of our house, and we've cut this out of basic white. I used real red for the foot of the house, the bottom, kind of the little ledge that the birdies can sit on. If this was a bird feeder, that would be where all the bird seed would be. So just adding that on. So we're going to get lots of little layers of cardstock here. And we started out with that black so that it would kind of fill in that hole. Then we've also got some real red that we've used to cut the scallopy edge out of. Super pretty. I kind of like this little scallopy edge. I mean, if you're going to have a birdhouse, you might as well have a pretty birdhouse, right? So let's go ahead and stick this down. And this kind of nestles right inside that other V for the roof. And don't worry too much if there's any little gaps here and there, because we have one more little tiny skinny piece, and I'm going to use the glue on my hand trick to get this gluey. And this little tiny skinny piece actually bridges the gap in between those other 2 pieces for the roof. And so that means that if there's any gaps or anything, it kind of fills it in. So you don't have to see it. If I get it lined up right. There we go. There we go. Just stick it down like that. Now you could lower it down a little bit, but I always raise it up so that it's filling that gap. And that's the way I like it. So that's the way I do it. But you could totally lower it down and have it fit in that notch. Okay, so there is basically the base for our little birdhouse, but we've got snow on our roof. We should also have snow on our little ledge. So I have cut out a second piece of the ledge using the basic white. And all I'm going to do for this is just use my trusty little scissors. And I'm just going to cut a wiggledy-jiggledy line going across to make it look like there's some snow kind of piled up and sort of tumbling down over the edge. And that's it. That's all I had to do. Just a little swizzle with my scissors, and then we can go ahead and pick up some glue. Might need a little more on there. And then we can line that up with the top edge of our ledge. Again, I'm going to pick it up and just use my fingers to feel where the edge is. You know the cereal with the toucan Fruit Loops, where it always says, follow my nose, it always knows. And that's like my fingers. They always know much better than me where I need to put things. They can feel better than I can see. Alrighty, so now we need to attach our little birdie house to our card. We're going to do that with some dimensionals. And so just going to grab those. But we're going to keep our dimensionals in from the edge of the card. We're not going to go right out to the edge. But we are going to add a few on here. I'm going to even add a couple little half-size ones from the border. And then we can take our backings off. I think that this little house, and I was actually torn between whether I wanted to make this into a card or whether I wanted to make it into a tag. I think this little birdie house would make a gorgeous gift tag. So if you're thinking about gift giving and you want to jazz up something, I think this would make a really cute little gift tag. You could do a layer of white on the back, and that would be the spot to write your message, or have a second piece, a second tag. But I think it would be super cute. And of course you can decorate it. It doesn't have to be plain Jane. So the next thing I want to bring in is the tiny little bow that this cuts. And the set has two options. You can either have a string that holds your birdhouse up, hanging from somewhere, or it's got a stand, so it's up on a pole. So I decided to go for the hanging one because that's what Annette did, and I thought it looked so pretty. So we're just going to add some glue onto that little bow and tuck it in behind and going straight up to the edge of our card. We're going to bypass the edge of the pecan pie and go straight for the edge of the card. Then all we have to do is flip this over to the back side and trim it off. And we want to make sure that's stuck down. And then I have to keep reminding myself to scooch up, scooch up. And then we need to bring in some decorations. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is that there is a second die set that I'm using with this card, because we're playing mix and match, and that is the Winterly Treetops dies, because I wanted some little evergreen boughs, and of course I had them sitting here, and I've just dropped them. There's two of them. Where did the other one go? It went underneath my sticky note. So there's two little individual dies. So I went ahead and I cut a whole bunch of these little evergreen boughs out using shaded spruce. So a nice deep rich color. We've got some of the real red going. We've got pecan pie. There's some early espresso in the wood. We've got black and white. So I thought having some of that deep green would just look gorgeous with this sort of wintry looking birdhouse. And then also from the, I've got my washi tape and die there, from the birdhouse, the country birdhouse, we're also going to cut out some of these sort of medium size, actually these are the small ones, small size flowers. See how there's two sizes, a big and a small? We're going to cut some small, we also, that was out of Real Red. I also cut some of these little double leaves out of some old olive, because that's a really pretty color too. So mixing two different greens is a-okay as long as they work together. And so we've got all of those things happening. And then we've also got our pieces that we need to color. So for my coloring, I'm keeping my colors simple. I've got Mossy Meadow, light and dark, Stampin' Blends. I've got Pecan Pie, light and dark. And I've got Real Red, light and dark. So we're just kind of keeping them all in the same family of what we were working on before. So let's start out with the dark Real Red. Always do a little test off to the side. And we're going to go ahead and color our flowers. You want to use just the tip of your brush tip to color these in. There we go. And then let's do this big flower as well. I think it's really nice when you're working on a project that you keep your colors as similar as possible. So whatever your papers are using, whatever you're coloring, if you try to stick within 3 is a good number, maximum 5, but you know, there's neutrals in there too, like black and white. So I kind of like that number. It always seems to look very together, if you want to use that word. It looks very designy. If you get too many colors going on, especially in something that's this small, it gets too busy, and your eye doesn't know where to go, and you just kind of confuse yourself. So let's avoid that. And then let's grab our light Mossy Meadow. I would have probably used Old Olive for this if I had it, but I don't have Old Olive. But the Mossy Meadow is a nice sort of mid and dark green. And we're just going to use the tip of our brush to just gently color in these. They're teeny tiny little leaves. So you just barely glancing with that tip to get them colored in. You really don't have to use a lot of marker at all to color all these in. And then I got pieces of things glued to me. We're coming in with the dark. We'll add just a little bit of, you know, a little stylized line there. Add a little bit deeper color. And on some of these little leaves too, just a little hint of something like that. And for this birdhouse, I'm actually going to do 2 of each of these. I've already done one ahead of time. Now let's go to our bird. Let's grab our light Pecan Pie, or if you're from the south, Pecan. And let's color in our bird with the light Pecan Pie first. And I'm going to leave the beak for now. And I'm also going to leave some of the belly. So we're going to do just a little bit under the wing and a little bit down here. And then color in our wing. Like that. And even the little feet. Might as well color those while we're at it. Then I'm going to grab my dark Pecan Pie. Again, the brush tip. I mostly color with the brush tip, I find, because it's got a nice little point on there. And then we can add a little bit of dark under each of the little feathers here, under the belly, on the little feathers of the wing. Just a little a little touch, a little something something. And then coming in with the light real red, we're just going to add a little bit to the beak and a little bit right here on the belly. Kind of reminds me a bit of a robin, but robins usually go south in the winter, so we'll say it's not a robin. That will be our determining factor, because robins go south in the winter. Now, quite often I am guilty of this. I forget that I have the dies, and I just go ahead and fussy cut all these pieces. But today, because we're showing you what's in the package, I'm going to actually use the dies. Look at that. And there's a little flower. Let me grab my washi tape. I have donut washi tape. That's the roll I'm working on right now from probably 15 years ago. It's one that my daughter didn't decorate her arms and legs with when she was little, because she had a tendency to do that. She liked to find the washi tape and then wrap it round and round herself. I don't know where she got that idea. She also liked putting lots of Band-Aids on herself. Do you ever have a kid or know a kid that was always just, can I have a Band-Aid? Can I have a Band-Aid? It's not because they were hurt. They just wanted to wear a Band-Aid. It's like stickering yourself. One time my husband was left alone for a while I was on a trip with my bestie, and Julia was little, and he sent me a picture, and she was literally covered in Band-Aids, like all down her legs, all down her arms, and it was summertime, so she was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and he says, don't be alarmed, she's not injured, she just wanted more and more Band-Aids. So, yeah. So some of the washi tape survive, and that's what I used to hold my dies on with. So we're going to run that through quickly. And hopefully I've lined those up well. Because I'm so used to using my scissors, I actually do struggle a bit lining up the dies. But I find it much easier to stamp first, then die cut, and I also find that it's easier to color before you've die cut, because you have more area to hold and manipulate while you're doing the coloring. Those look like they turned out just fine. Yay. So then we have a couple more that were done ahead of time. So I'm just going to bring in all the bits and pieces. So there's 2 of each of those flowers. And then we have some of the little green leaves. We've got some of the evergreens and shaded spruce. Those little pairs of leaves are an old olive. Let me see, I did 5 of the little pairs of leaves, and I did 8 of the evergreens, and then I also did 3 of these little flowers. And now we need to just do some decorating. This is always the fun part, right? When you get to stick glue on your hand and start sticking things to your card. All the nitty-gritty is done. So let's start making a little bit of some arrangements here. We're going to kind of cluster some stuff. So if you ever need practice clustering, this kind of project is great. So let's add a little bit of leaf there, and we're going to combine it with a little bit of spruce. So we're just tapping into our glue on our hand, and then we can just tuck that right in there. And I like how it kind of tucks but overhangs the base of the birdhouse. Sorry, lost my words there. Gonna add some glue to this little die cut flower. I could shape this flower a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary. It's just a tiny little flower. We can just leave it alone. But you could shape it. Use a stylus, use a little bit of foam, and just kind of run it around. I do that if I'm using bigger ones, but that one's just a little one. It can just hang out. It looks pretty. And so we're adding that in there, and then let's add one of these little single flowers, if I can pick it up. Tap it in the glue. And I'm going to this is going to look weird. It's going to be floating, but it'll make sense in a minute. We're going to add a little leafy number. I'm running out of glue. Again, that one's floating, but it's okay. It's okay. We're going to add some more stuff. And then let's bring in some evergreens. And you'll notice I'm not adding glue all the way to the end of some of these. And that allows for a little bit of lift, a little bit of floofiness, so that everything is not stuck down right flat. And that's kind of fun. And let's add another little sprig in there, just kind of nestled in. And then let's add one of these clusters of flowers. And now you can see how we're kind of filling in all those gaps just by adding those little flowers in behind there. So pretty. And then let's also grab one of these die cuts. We're really building her up. And we're just going to tuck that on there like that. Super cute. Okay, we need some more glue. And we're going to go to another spot on the card. How's everybody doing? It says my comments shut off again, so hopefully it's reconnected. How's it looking so far? Are we liking it? I love the brown, the green, and red. That seems to be one of my go-to colors this year. Do you ever find that there's just a color that you kind of gravitate towards when you're doing your card making? And you're like, oh yeah, that just appeals to me this year. And that seems to be what's happening with the brown, red, and green for me. So I added a little leaf. We're going to add in some greenery, like that. We're going to add in, let's add a flower. If I can pick it up. Like that. And some more greenery. We cut lots of greenery, so we can just keep adding to our heart's content. And we're going to slide that right on in there, like that. And then we're going to go around the corner. So I'm actually going to probably trim off the next few little pieces of greenery. Just take a snippet off the ends so that they'll tuck in a little more. There we go. And let's also add this last little leaf. We don't want to forget it. Don't want to forget it. It's just hanging out here, biding its time. It says, don't forget about me. We'll tuck that in there. We want to make sure we don't go past the bottom, because the bottom's got to sit when the card is on display, right? So we can't go past the end. The end is nigh. Or the end is near. All right. Let's add another little greenery. I'm going to turn my card this time. Scooch it up so I can get a better angle on what I'm doing here. Stick that in there. And then our last little greenery is going to go in there. Like that. And then we have our other florals here. So let's get some glue just on the top half of those. And we can just tuck that right in there like that. So pretty. And then our little birdie. I think I've run out of most of the glue on my hand. That's okay. I didn't add any glue to his tail because his tail is going to kind of hang out into no man's land over there. Like that. Cute. And then our very last little flower. Did you think we were going to get all those on there? Were you worried that they wouldn't all fit? We got them all on. Allison says, super pretty. Michelle says, looks great. Hooray. And then, of course, we need to add a sentiment. And so that's why I've brought in the Peaceful Season stamp set, because there's lots of lovely sentiments on there. And I think I want the Season of Wonder and Happiness. That is one that I keep gravitating towards. I kind of wish there was a smaller Christmas, because there's a great big Christmas. I kind of wish there was a, well, there's a little one here, but you'd have to do some fancy footwork to get that to work. And that might be too big. That might be too big. I want something a little bit smaller. We could do the Hoping This Season is Bright and Beautiful. We could do Joy and Love to You. Cheer All Year. Maybe that one. Cheer All Year. What do you think? Cheer All Year. Let's see how that fits. Yes, but we're going to do it. We are going to end up masking. We're going to do it in 2 little pieces. Isn't it great when I make decisions on the fly? Sometimes that's just how it is. We're going to bring in our leftover bit of paper from when we did our little house. We're going to grab our embossing anti-static pouch just to do that. Let me also grab a piece of scrap paper. And of course, it got stuck in my drawer. That'll work. I think it's actually an envelope, but it'll work. And let's grab our stamp block. We're going to do some embossing on this, because I just decided at this very moment that embossing sounded like a great idea, because I just love the black and white that we've got going on. So I've got my Versamark ink, and I've got some, oh, that's silver. Let's see, some white embossing powder. So let's get ourselves all set up. Embossing powder. Let's move our card out of the way. We'll need that in a minute. Versamark, and we're going to need a sticky note, because we need to do a little bit of masking here. So we're going to stamp the word cheer, and then we're going to stamp all year. So let me just do it easy. It doesn't have to be measured. We're going to trim it out after. So we're going to ink this up. We're going to stamp the word cheer right on there. And then we're going to turn this around. Don't worry about it. I know it looks a little odd. And then we're going to stamp all year. And I might have pushed too hard on the word cheer, but we'll see how it goes. And then we just dump our embossing powder on there. Ooh, that was a big clump of embossing powder. Fancy. Or not so fancy. I must not have used it for a day or two. Got a little humidity in there. And then we can toss that back in. Now, I do see that we got some static buildup on our piece of cardstock, even though we used the anti-static. So I'm just going to grab a brush and just gently brush away from where I want to emboss. And then the magic of going, who else does that when they're trying to get rid of embossing powder that's in the wrong spot? Do a little whoo-hoo. Yep, it works. Bringing in our heat tool. We're lifting this up from the surface of our table so that the heat doesn't bother any kind of finish we might have. And we just let the magic happen, and it's going to change from dull and dry, and yes, I did push too hard on the word cheer, but I think it'll be okay. Sometimes if you push too hard when you're about to do embossing or any kind of stamping, it kind of smudges the letters. They kind of fall over, and then you get a little not as crisp of a look. Okay, I'm going to do a quick little rub on my pants to get rid of that anti-static powder. And then we're going to trim these down. Now, we can use our little trimmer for that if we want to make sure we get some somewhat straight lines. So I'm going to trim a little bit off the bottom. I might have gone too high. I was trying not to go too little. And I might have gone too much, but that's okay. We'll get there. Even if we have to trim it with the scissors in the end. Cheer. Hopefully I didn't chop it off. You know, when I'm not on camera, I tend to just use my scissors, but I thought, you know, I'll be fancy today and use a trimmer and make straight lines. And then I'm going to need to use scissors. Come on. Come on out. There we go. They're such tiny pieces when you're done. It does sometimes help to have those cut ahead of time, but other times I just trim them out. So there is our cheer all year. Let's just adjust that spacing like so and like so. So I'm throwing little bits of paper hither and thither. And we're going to probably need a little bit of dimensionals for this. So let's grab some of these edge pieces. Let's stick a dimensional on this end of both of them. Like that. And the glue has dried on my hand, so I'm going to have to add a little dab of glue. A little dab will do ya. There we go. And I thought this was going to be a fast project today. Cheer. I think I get talking too much. Too many stories. And then all year, which I think is just perfect for this little birdie, right? He's happy and cheerful, singing his happy little songs no matter the time or the season. And then we need a little bling because we can't not have bling on our card. And so let's grab our take your pick tool. We've got some of the Rhinestone Basic Jewels. And let's grab some of these little ones. And I think they would look perfect right in the center of these little flowers. If I can grab it. It's not wanting to cooperate. There we go. And one more. Right there. So pretty. Look at that. Oh, let's do one in the center of our bigger flowers too. Why not? We'll have a couple more on there because I left them blank just for this reason. I'm going to grab my other pokey tool that just seems to behave better for me. And one right there. Just peeking out from behind. There we go. That is our completed project. We started out with our basic white cardstock. We added in our pecan pie that we embossed with the 3D Birch embossing folder, then die cutting with the lovely country birdhouse, making something that you would think would be for spring and summer, but no, it's for the winter. Adding in all those lovely die cuts and some evergreens from the Winterly Treetops dies, and of course our coloring with our pecan pie, real red, and mossy meadow, just to bring all those beautiful Christmassy winter colors in. Isn't it nice to see the pops of red in the winter? I just think that's fabulous. And so we've got our little bit of bling showing there as well, and that is our completed card. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that come together. I apologize that it took so long, and we will try to be a little quicker with our next video. All right, have a wonderful evening, and we'll be on at 7 o'clock for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Toodaloo. Bye.